So we go back to Zwangswang all the time, right, Danny? Anything he does, he's still trapped. And even if, which we know it's not going to happen, even if he declares a mission accomplished, we won, I'm leaving. This means de facto accepting a monster strategic defeat with global consequences we cannot even imagine, right? So he cannot leave. He needs an off ramp that he can sell as a victory. All the off ramps spell out defeat, all of them, with no exception.
Zwangswang. It's a chess term. It means that you're in a position where every move you make puts you in a worse spot. A Brazilian journalist just used it to describe the United States in 2026. And you know what's genuinely unsettling? He's not wrong.
The difference now is that Trump inherited the Ukrainian debacle. So in the Ukraine story, Trump has to manage the strategic defeat, even though he did not cause it. Now it's even worse. He has to manage a strategic defeat that he provoked. He doesn't have the intellectual capability to deal with that. Absolutely impossible.
The man who started the second war is now drowning in both of them. Welcome back to ARM Geopolitics. I'm Aaron Johnson. On this channel, we don't just cover the news. We cut through the noise, we dominate the narrative, and give you the analysis mainstream media is too scared to run. Vigilance is our shield, truth is our weapon. Let's get into it. Now, most Western journalists are stuck outside the fence. But Pepe Escobar has the direct lines to Moscow and Tehran they'd kill for. He just dropped one word that changes the entire map. Zwangswang. So strap in, because once you see this move, you'll realize Washington isn't just losing. They're trapped in a game where every move they make is a suicide mission.
It's obvious that Trump would reject the whole thing. First of all, if he goes straight to number one, that's the graphic proof of the American strategic defeat. And number two, Strait of Hormuz, the Americans have zero cards to play unless keep this ersatz blockade indefinitely. And the only thing that registered in Trump's mind is he wants a new nuclear deal, which whatever happens in the short term, middle term, etc., is going to be a sort of diluted JCPOA. It's going to be what we had since 2015, discussed in Vienna, then ratified by the UN Security Council, which was tore up by Trump himself. And we're going to have a JCPOA 2.0, which is not going to be much different. So we go back to Zwangswang all the time, right, Danny? Anything he does, he's still trapped. And even if, which we know it's not going to happen, even if he declares a mission accomplished, we won, I'm leaving. This means de facto accepting a monster strategic defeat with global consequences we cannot even imagine, right? So he cannot leave. He needs an off ramp that he can sell as a victory. All the off ramps spell out defeat, all of them, with no exception. Even if he bombs Iran to the what was it? Stone Ages, as he said.
Stone Ages, yes.
Stone Ages. Even if he bombs Iran to the Stone Ages, it's not going to change anything. And of course, and this they have to keep saying it over and over again. Everybody, our friend Professor Marandi, members of parliament, people linked to the IRGC, some of the best independent Iranian analysts, everybody saying the same thing. Look, if we're attacked again, just wait. We already have our target list, and it's going to be a hardcore, and it will include U.S. vessels. So it takes one missile sinking an American aircraft carrier. And then you compare with the extremely measured, now it's great because the Iranians discovered the power of soft power, in fact, And of course, when we have some of their tweets are absolutely, hilarious. Not to mention the Lego angle. They conquered the whole planet with their Lego videos.
So let me put Escobar's Zwangswang on screen as a simple matrix. Option 1, restart full military strikes. Depleted air defense, 120-degree heat. Iran already has US vessels on their target list. Option 2, declare victory and leave. Escobar calls it the de facto accepting a monster strategic defeat. Iran keeps Hormuz leverage. The world watched what happened. Option 3, accept Iran's three-stage proposal, end all wars first, straight negotiations second. Nuclear talks third. Trump already rejected this today. Accepting means Iran set the terms. Option 4, keep the blockade indefinitely, which is what the next section covers. 4 options, 0 good ones. That's Zwangswang. But Escobar doesn't just describe the trap, he shows you how it was set. And that starts with a meeting in St. Petersburg that almost nobody covered.
Then, very, very important, Arashi went to, not Moscow, sorry, to St. Petersburg, where he talked not only to Lavrov, but he was received personally by the president of Russian Federation for 1 hour and a half. That in itself is Milky Way spectacular. Putin never gives heads of state more than half an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour and a half to a foreign minister, which tells us Ushakov's leaks aside, because he only leaked what was the most obvious part, that was a very, very serious discussion. So serious that Putin called Trump after that. And that also lasted over 1 hour and a half, apparently, over 1 hour and a half. So Putin was basically telling Trump what he discussed with Arashi in St. Pete. And what we got from the official Kremlin transcript from St. Pete was already quite something. Everything in terms of Russia basically saying we are all in. Putin demonstrating an enormous amount of respect towards Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei. He opened his speech to Arashi saying, look, last week I received a letter from your new supreme leader, and I wish him all the best, all the typical protocolar stuff, but way beyond that. What does that mean? That they are talking at the ultra highest level. And of course, this is deeply appreciated by the Iranians, and this proves that Putin is totally in the game. Russia has skin in the game, and now this is made public directly by Putin's words, and not only his words, but his actions immediately after that, which is to call Trump for a long discussion, where among other things, he said that this has to be resolved diplomatically, that Trump going back to war is going to be unacceptable, not only for Iran, but obviously because it will involve the other Persian Gulf players, the petromonarchies. Did Trump register? Did he understood the memo? Apparently not. Once again, after this phone call, he was briefed by the Joint Chiefs and by the head of CENTCOM with the final blow possibilities, which are all of them absolutely horrendous, including attacks on Iranian civilian infrastructure.
The Arashi-Putin meeting in St. Petersburg confirmed. Kremlin published a partial transcript. The Putin-Trump call afterward confirmed. Duration approximately 90 minutes. The 90-minute duration is the signal here. Putin doesn't give most heads of state that long. For a foreign minister to get 90 minutes means the conversation was genuinely serious, not protocol. then calling Trump for another 90 minutes to relay it, that's Russia making clear they're not watching from the sidelines. And Trump's response to that call was to get briefed on strike options by the Joint Chiefs. I'm not editorializing, the sequence speaks for itself.
And of course, today Trump said, I reject the new Iranian offer. And he's trying to pose like he is in charge and he has cards to play. He has zero cards to play apart from this ersatz blockade, which may have one of two Hollywoodish Netflix productions of, the Marines jumping on board a tanker here and there, but that's it. Most tankers are going back and forth, dribbling, football style, the American blockade. The Americans cannot blockade. It's ridiculous. From the southern Indian Ocean to the Arabian Sea, it's like 1,000 kilometers. This is completely absurd because obviously these cowards cannot be in the Sea of Oman, much less in the Persian Gulf. So you have tankers dribbling it. And the Iranians are masters of dribbling sanctions, blockades, harassment, maximum pressure, and all that. They have PhDs on that, So that's it. And Pakistan, early this week, they opened 6 overland corridors. So people tend to forget. And just look at the map. What is the shortest way between Iran and China? What is it? What's in the middle? Pakistan. With excellent relations to both. So obviously, everything that Iran needs to do the back and forth via Pakistan. And even oil, if it's transported via highways, lesser quantities, but can also be done. Same thing in the China-Iran railway. They can transport some oil via the China-Iran railway across Turkmenistan, then Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, going to Xinjiang.
Pakistan opened 6 overland corridors this week, verified. China-Iran railway route through Central Asia, operational. Iran's land borders, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, Iraq, plus Caspian Sea access to Russia and Kazakhstan. The blockade would need to simultaneously choke all of that, with 15 to 20 ships in the region. 3 sources have now confirmed this from completely different angles. Johnson, Morandi, and now Escobar. At some point, that's not analysis anymore. That's just geography.
The Iranians know exactly what the UAE did in terms of facilitating or even unleashing attacks on Iran from UAE soil. So there will be a response. So what MBZ's master plan? Okay. I need to sell as much oil as I can. If he's inside OPEC, he needs to respect the quotas. So far, the quota for the UAE was a little over 3 million, 3.4 million max. They built capacity to export 5 million barrels a day. How can they do that inside OPEC? They can't. So bye-bye OPEC, bye-bye OPEC plus. So they can sell as much oil as they want and as their Asian customers especially want. 3 top customers of UAE are China, Japan, and India. So they can sell as much as China, Japan, and India want. Trump loves it because this will, oil prices will theoretically go down. But the problem is, Iran will look at that and said, look, no, you're not get away so easy like that. We still owe you a response for what you did to us during the war. This means Fujairah, the oil terminal of the UAE, is not going to be safe anytime soon. The Iranian silence on the UAE for the moment is fascinating because depending on what happens next, there will be something. And of course, one of the reasons that, an extra reason that MBZ made his risky bet is that from the beginning he was saying, we are not going to pay the toll booths in the Strait of Hormuz. And closing it all up, Danny, the big thing. He made his bet that he's going to stay with the petrodollar. And that's why Trump loves the move.
Yeah.
So he's betting on the petrodollar. And at the moment, to bet on the petrodollar is not exactly a long-term view.
UAE left OPEC, confirmed. Fujairah as a target, that's Escobar's analytical assessment. I'm noting it as his opinion, not confirmed intelligence. But the core strategic logic, UAE facilitated attacks on Iran from UAE territory. Iran knows. The silence isn't forgiveness, it's the same patient arithmetic we've seen across this whole conflict. And the petrodollar bet is worth flagging. MBZ is betting the dollar system comes out of this war intact, which leads directly into what Escobar covers next. And it's the part of this conversation that I think has the longest consequences of anything we've discussed today. While Washington is running this blockade and counting tankers, something else is happening to the world financial system. And this is the part of Escobar's conversation that nobody on cable news is touching.
This is excellent because it goes straight to the point for most people traveling across Asia, mostly businessmen, but also tourists. They can use Alipay virtually everywhere now, which was not the case until, I would say, 2 years ago. The real boom of Alipay all across Asia started last year. And UnionPay as well. So a lot of people across Asia now, they don't have a MasterCard or a Visa card. They have a UnionPay card. And this is something, well, I saw this from the beginning, and I never cease to be amazed how UnionPay, they basically conquered the Asian market. Okay, it took a while, 2012, 14 years. But in retrospect, 14 years is not much. In the beginning, they had nothing. For instance, when I was in Hong Kong, I dealt with HSBC. One day they gave me a UnionPay card. And I arrived in Europe and I couldn't use it. There was only one bank in France that accepted UnionPay. So I came back to Hong Kong. I went to talk to the guys. I said, guys, what is that? They said, well, why don't you tell us, your customers, that you give us a UnionPay card and not a Visa or a MasterCard? They said, yes, because they made a mega offer to us. They said, we'll give you anything you want, you HSBC, one of the biggest banks on the planet, if you start switching from Visa and MasterCard to our card. HSBC, obviously, because they probably got a mega bonus for that. They start doing that in 2012, 13, 14. Now, in Europe, everywhere you go, you can also use UnionPay. So Visa and MasterCard are being expelled from the market little by little. And across Asia, everybody is using QR codes from their banks. Once again, bypassing completely the American system. That's the future. And this is the future that the Chinese are also implementing with their payment system, CIPS, the Chinese International Payment System, the Russian, SPFS, the Iranians, they have their system as well. So soon, they're going to coordinate all these payment systems, especially the three big ones, China, Russia, and Iran. And that's it. You don't need to go through the American control system anymore. That's it. In the case of Russia and Iran, they have deep experience because they're ultra sanctioned. In the case of China, it's complicated because the Chinese are always afraid of secondary sanctions. But if you're using the Chinese international payment system, no problem. And of course, if you use UnionPay, it's a Chinese bank. It's a Chinese credit, facilitating credit mechanism, completely outside of the Western system. So no wonder it's a huge hit here, all across Asia, everywhere around here. Now here in Thailand, you can you can go to a stall in the street and you can use Union Pay or Alipay, literally everywhere. It's something that was not happening until 2 years ago. Now it's lightning speed. That's it. This is so the Iranians, when they look around, there are many options, and of course the Russians as well, because the Russians, when they were expelled from SWIFT, they had to start from scratch. So obviously they asked the Iranians, "So okay, how have you been dealing under sanctions for so long?" So they learned a few lessons from the Iranians as well, moving very fast. This internationalization of alternative payment system, it's absolutely inevitable, and there's absolutely nothing the Americans can do about it.
Let me put into numbers what Escobar is describing. The CIPS, China's cross-border interbank payment system, processed approximately $24 trillion in transactions in 2024, up roughly 75% from 2022. To be clear, CIPS is still a fraction of SWIFT's scale, and the yuan accounts for only 3% of global payments versus the dollar's 48%. But the direction of travel is what matters. UnionPay, accepted in over 180 countries and regions. Russia's SPFS, connected to Chinese CIPS for cross-border settlements. Indonesia-China QR payments linkage, confirmed April 2026. Escobar frames this as inevitable and unstoppable, and he's probably right on the money on that. But here's the layer I'd add. This isn't happening because China is evil or because Russia is powerful. It's happening because America weaponized the dollar. Every country you sanction builds an alternative. Iran's been sanctioned 47 years. They built one. Russia got cut from SWIFT in 2022. They built one. And now the alternatives are connecting to each other. The America First response to this isn't how do we stop it? It's already too late for that. It's how do we make sure the dollar is still worth using by countries that now have a choice? And the answer to that has nothing to do with blockades. It's manufacturing. It's energy. It's making things, the stuff that made the dollar valuable in the first place.
Whatever happens. And we are already seeing the emergence of not yet a fourth power, as Professor Pepe has been saying. No, and we're not there yet. But a very, very strong middle power that is capable of staring down one of the three top powers in the world. This is already, wow, the consequences we'll feel the consequences for not only for the rest of this century, but beyond. Iran is now at the center of geopolitics. And the whole planet, especially the whole global south, is paying attention, learning their lessons. People are amazed at how a country under 47 years of sanctions, which has been deliberately impoverished by the Americans all this time, but managed to organize themselves against all odds, to exercise their independence, their sovereignty, and especially militarily to absorb everything that was thrown against them. It is immensely impressive. And everything made in Iran, which makes it even more impressive. Everything is indigenous. Yeah, yesterday I was looking at photos of Saigon in 1975. And yes, you look at those Vietnamese in Saigon in 1975 and say, yeah, now you have your brothers, the Iranians, in 2026. It's the same spirit, resistance, sovereignty. And against all odds, you go to the end. The empire is not capable of doing that. And now even worse. And now they lost the war in record time. Literally. They lost this war in the, let's say, in the first 10 days. It was already, we could see that it was already lost. Trump inherited the Ukrainian debacle. So in the Ukraine story, Trump has to manage the strategic defeat, even though he did not cause it. Now it's even worse. He has to manage a strategic defeat that he provoked. He doesn't have the intellectual capability to deal with that. Absolutely impossible. When you look at his previous history, when you look at how he deals with adversity, when we look at his mafioso Tony Soprano mindset, it's absolutely impossible. And on top of it, he's not the main player. He's just an actor. The people who are behind, the people who are really responsible for the war, that's it. They also never had a plan B. So they can blame Trump. Trump can blame somebody in his team, a very mediocre team, but the people who run the show are going to blame him. And he knows it. And that adds to his desperation.
The Vietnam parallel, worth taking seriously. The pattern Escobar is describing isn't new. Technologically superior power fighting a determined opponent on their home territory. No exit that doesn't look like defeat. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Each time the same basic failure, commitment without a clear definition of winning. On Trump is just an actor. I've said this in different words on this channel. Documented foreign policy capture. Lobbying, donations, congressional votes, happening in public, in the open. Nobody's stopping it. The desperation Escobar describes, can't win, can't leave, can't admit defeat. That's not a Trump problem specifically. That's the structural consequence of building a foreign policy around someone else's strategic objective. Whoever sits in that chair next faces the same trap unless the underlying policy changes. Okay, honest read on Pepe Escobar, the Zwangswang analysis. I think he's right. Work through the 4 options yourself. None of them restore American strategic position. The Putin 90-minute signal, documented, significant, basically ignored. The blockade as theater. 3 independent sources from completely different angles have now confirmed this. The payment systems history. The numbers are real. The trend is real. And it has longer consequences than anything else we've covered today. Where I'm more careful, Fujira as a specific target is Escobar's assessment, not confirmed intelligence. The usual suspects framing is too vague. I need documented evidence for specific claims. Tony's soprano mindset is color commentary, not analysis. But here's what actually stays with me from this conversation. Not the military analysis, not even the Zwangswang concept. It's the payment system section. Because the blockade ends, the war ends. But if the dollar loses its role as the world's default reserve currency, that doesn't reverse. That's a generational shift. And here's the thing that's worth sitting with. It didn't have to happen this way. Every country America sanctioned was given a reason to build an alternative. Iran for 47 years, Russia since 2022, and now the alternatives are connecting. The blockade accelerated it. That's not Escobar's conclusion, that's arithmetic. I guess a lot of people are going to watch this and say, Escobar is just anti-American propaganda. Please comment down below and show me the Zwangswang exit I'm missing. Show me the option that gets America out of this with its strategic position intact. One that serves actual Americans, not Washington, not a foreign ally. I'll be reading all of your words. And if you found this useful, if this is the kind of conversation you can't find on cable news, go ahead, share it with one person who needs to hear it. That's genuinely more helpful than hitting subscribe, although I'll take both. This is ARM Geopolitics. I'm Aaron Johnson. Stay sharp, stay informed, and never stop questioning. I'll see you in the next one.